This is Dennis from Guitar Lessons Ithaca with your tip of the week. So I went to a jam session over the weekend, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of percussion players, and maybe one guitarist and one bassist and one keyboard player, and all the jams were all one chord. Okay, and I thought to myself, gee, it would be so much nicer from a harmonic standpoint if there could be at least one more chord. Now I understand it's mostly percussion, and it's not the vibe to wasn't the vibe to, like, you know, do anything complicated, and there's also musicians of various skill levels, so you want as simple as possible, but just adding one more chord can make the melodic possibilities so much nicer. I mean, as you know, the big three in music is harmony, rhythm, and melody. So the rhythm was already a given, you know, lots of drummers. And melody is what the keyboard and guitar and bass, you know, have the role that they play. And then harmony would be the context in which they would play it. So harmony in this case would just be one chord. And so the melodic possibilities aren't as rich, nearly as rich, as if you have two chords. And so this is a compendium to a blog I just did on all the many ways that you can very easily add another chord and make your jam session so much more fun. So the first part we're going to do is a 1 chord to a 4 chord. This is a very easy way to do a jam progression. If you're in the key of C, then your 4 chord is the F chord, and you could play a almost like what's the name of that song? You Can't Always Get What You Want, from the Rolling Stones. Now, if it's in a minor key, the 1 and 4 works just as well. Like maybe Bob Marley's I Shot the Sheriff in the key of G minor. Like, so I could jam on that all day long, and it's 1 4 1 1 in the key of G minor. You could also have dominant chords being 1 and 4, like Feeling All Right. D7 and G7. And the 1 and 4 chord don't even necessarily need to be of the same type. Like, you could have a minor chord followed by a dominant chord, and this progression certainly will sound familiar to Santana fans. It's A minor, 7, and D9. Now, I'm not suggesting that the famous songs need to be played in that kind of a jam session, because, you know, people may not like to jam in they may not like that particular artist or that particular song, but it's not about that. It's just about the harmonic framework. I mean, you could take a minor 1 chord to a dominant 4 chord and put it in any key, any time signature, and any duration of chords, like 2 beats, 4 beats, or 8 beats, and it'll sound completely different. Suppose you put it in E minor, and you made it in cut time, 4 bars each. It might be like 1 1 2 1 2. Like, if you did that, no one's going to say, hey, that's the chord progression from Oye Como Va. People aren't even going to think of that. So none of these suggestions, when I'm referencing a famous song, it has nothing to do with, you know, invoking that song in a jam session. It's just thinking about possibilities to add an easy second chord to your progression to enrich it, is all. So that covers part 1, which is the 1 to 4. Now, 1 to 5 has a huge amount of possibilities, and even if it's just a simple 1 and 5, like G and D7. This is what, Latin bands do all the time. They don't need, in Latin music, the focus is percussive primarily, and the harmony tends to be pretty simple. And that's the same context we're talking about here in this type of a jam session where, it's mostly about the rhythm, but you want to add just a little bit of harmony to make it more melodically interesting. Now, in one of the tunes that my salsa band plays, which is a merengue tune called Compadre Pedro Juan, it does 1-5-5-1, which is also very common. Like, we play it in the key of C, so it might be like... like that. So that in and of itself is super fun because now it's not symmetrical anymore. It's like 1-5-5-1. Now, if you take that 1-5-5-1 concept and slow it down and stretch it out, you might have a thing like Iko Iko, which I looked it up. The key of the Dixie, the version by the Dixie Cup, is like, it's in F. Like that, and then so that's 1-1-1-5-5-5-5-1, and then there's even more possibilities with 1 and 5 where the setup might not be symmetrical. So like there's a tune called Nails in My Coffin, and it's 1-1-1-1-1-1-5-5, then 1-1-1-1-1-5-1-1. Now that may sound a little unusual, but it makes perfect sense when you hear it. Like right? So with just a little bit of 5 thrown in there, actually it's a 16 bar progression, and the 5 chord only occupies 3 of those bars. So just a little bit of tension goes a long way. And the 1 and 5 also works very well in a minor. Even if you had 2 minor chords, like B minor and F sharp minor, very cool for a jam session. That's all 1 and 5. I'm going to move on now to 1 and 2. The 1 and 2 chord progression could be something like Moon Dance, where you have A minor 7 and B minor 7. Right, I put the C in the bass over one of the A minor chords. So that's 1 and 2. In a minor, that would be actually Dorian. Another example is the tune I'd Rather Go Blind, which is the exact same progression as Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. It's like in A, key of A, and the 2 chord is B minor. It's like... very simple yet effective progression for jamming. You could also start with the 2 chord, like in "Don't Let Me Down" by the Beatles, like "Don't let me down." Okay, so the 1 chord doesn't always have to go first. And then from there, there's other possibilities. There's the 1 and 6, which might not be as compelling, but it still works, like in the song Locomotion. Now again, I'm not advocating that these songs should be played in a jam session, but just the 1 and 6 chord, take it in any key, in any progression. So let's take it in, I don't know, take it in C, and we'll play it medium 4/4, two chords each. I mean 2 bars per chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another one is like "Wish You Were Here," where the 6th chord actually comes first. It'd be like, and then from there you could have other chords like flat 7 major chord. It could be used like, let's say you're in A minor, like in the song "Night Nurse" by Gregory Isaacs. It's an A minor and a G. And then the next one is the flat 7 being used in a major key, like in Cream's version of Skip James's "I'm So Glad." It's like E and D. So 1, 2, 3, E, D, and E, D, D. And then because of that flat 7 chord in there, it invokes a bluesy sound, The last thing we'll do is talk about the flat 6 chord. If you're in a minor key, the flat 6 is diatonic. So if you're in A minor, like in the song "Rhiannon," that's not too hard, just 2 chords, and it's great. And then you could do a flat 6 chord in a major key, but it actually would end up being non-diatonic. Like if you went E to C. Like it sounds cool, but it's potentially harder to jam on. So it might not be as inclusive in a jam session like that, where people just want something to zone out on, and that would be trickier to improvise over because they're non-diatonic, so each chord would have to be treated a little differently in terms of the underlying scale. And there's a ton more possibilities, but that's just the tip of the iceberg to give you. Adding one more chord to your progression can go a long way.